So again, welcome back students. I am your geography teacher Vandana Joshi and you are watching SST Zone. Students, as in our previous videos of the chapter Geomorphic processes, you have already studied about the nature of the structure of the earth, and as well as you have studied about the geomorphic processes, and already you have studied about the endogenic processes. So students, in before one video we have seen what are the exogenic processes, in which we have seen few exogenic processes in which we have studied about denudation. So in denudation already we have studied about the weathering. Now today we will see the next process of weathering, that is mass movement. So students, what is mass movement? Students, the mass movement is a movement which is occurring due to the weathering condition, like the landslide and the rainfall, and same like that so many weathering processes are there through which the mass movement is occurring. As in previous video you have seen a flow chart in which the denudation process was given, in which you have seen behind the mass movement there is a force that is known as the gravitational force. Okay, so what we can say, what is mass movement in a particular language? What we can say, the mass movement are those movement which involve transfer of mass of rock debris down the slope under the direct influence of gravity. So the movement of mass may range from slow to rapid. Okay, it is moving to slow to rapidly. Getting? So the mass movements are active over the weathered and the unweathered slopes. Means those areas, those slopes are even they are weathered or not, the mass movement is occurring there in the form of slow to rapid. Okay, so students, here are few activities which are occurring due to mass movement. So let's see what are these activities. So students, here are few activities which are occurring due to the mass movements. So let's see what are these activities. So first of all, we can include the removal of support from below to materials above through natural or artificial means, and increasing in gradient and height of slopes. Students, we can also include the overloading through addition of materials naturally or by artificial filling. Means when the mass movement is occurring, that time few sediments are there, it can be natural or artificial sediments. Okay, and the removal of material or load from over the original slope surface, as you can see in this given picture. Students, we can also include the earthquakes and explosions and many type of interior earth activities which are occurring due to the mass movement, and the excessive natural seepage is also occurring due to mass movement. Students, heavy drawdown of water from lakes, reservoirs and the rivers is also occurring due to the mass movement, as many times you have listened or you have seen in TVs that sometime there is flood or sometime heavy rain, and many activities are there which are occurring due to the mass movement. And student, we can include the indiscrimination removal of natural vegetation which is occurring due to the mass movement. So students, as you have seen that many activities which are occurring due to the mass movement. So students, we can be grouped the mass movement into three major parts. These major parts are slow movement, rapid movement and the landslide. So what we can say, the movement which are occurring due to the mass movement, these are number one, slow movement, number two, rapid movement, and number three, that is land slide. Total, there are three types of movement of mass movement. These are slow movement, rapid movement, and the landslide. So students, slow movement is considered as the creeps. Which you can see here in this picture, the slow movement is known as creeps. Okay, and the rapid movement considered are that loose soil and heavy rain. You can include the humid climate and on many things are there which we can include in the rapid movement. And our main topic of that mass movement, it is landslide. So let's see what is landslide. So students, if we talk about landslide, what is landslide? So as you can see in this given picture, landslide is a long vertical rock cliff. The process of physical weathering loose the rocks when the force of gravity bring from down. They are described rockfalls. The falling rock masses break into smaller fragments to form a slope of loose materials called talus. Sliding of a single block on its lower surface is called rock slide. When a block slips on curved fracture planes to rotating backward upon a horizontal axis, it is known as slump. So students, another mass movement is known as erosion and deposition. So first of all, what is erosion? Students, the activities which are occurring due to the weathering condition, like the rocks are break down into different parts, and the removal of the topsoil of our earth's crust, and many activities which are just causing due to the air, water, and many type of weathering activities. Due to the massive rocks are break into the fragments, or you can say smaller particles, that activity is known as erosion. And what we can say about the deposition? Students, the deposition is a consequence of erosion activity. As in erosion activity, the rocks are divided into small particles as the soil and other particles. So what happen in deposition? Deposition, we can include the sediment or sedimenting condition in the deposition, which can be occur due to the same agents. The agents which are responsible for the erosion, the same agents are responsible for the deposition activities as well. So let's see what is erosion and what is deposition. So students, here we can see the erosion involves acquisition and transportation of rock debris. When massive rocks break into smaller fragments through weathering and any other processes, erosional geomorphic agents like running water, groundwater, glaciers, wind, and waves remove and transport it to other places depending upon the dynamic of each of these agents. Students, the abrasion by rock debris carried by these geomorphic agents also adds greatly in erosion. By erosion, relief degrades. The landscape is run down. Erosion and transportation are controlled by kinetic energy. As in previous video, students, I already told you in the flow chart behind the process of erosion and the deposition, there is a energy or a force. It is known as the kinetic energy. So students, here what we can say, one more thing is there, that is wind, running water and glaciers are controlled by climate. Okay, so these are known as the factors which are influencing to the erosion activity as well as the deposition activity. Students, here we can compute the erosion activity through a formula which is Ke is equal to 1 by 2 mv square, in which m is equal to mass, v is equal to velocity, and Ke is equal to kinetic energy. And deposition, as already I told you, it is a consequence of erosion. The erosional agents lose their velocity and hence energy on gentler slopes, and the materials carried by them start to settle themselves, which we are knowing as the sedimentation through the weathering processes. So students, for deposition, we can say deposition is a activity which can be occur just after the erosion activity, and it is known as the settle down process or the sedimentation process. So students, I hope you understood what is mass movement. So students, let's start our next topic of the denudation, that is the soil formation. So what is soil? First of all, we will discuss what is soil. So what is soil, students? Students, soil is a topmost or uppermost layer of our crust. Okay, so it is containing few particles that are known as the parent rocks, the humus, and few sediments which are sedimented by the weathering processes. So in a proper language, we can say a soil is the collection of natural bodies on the earth surface. Okay. So students, let's see what is the process of soil formation. Students, the weathering is the basic process for soil formation. As already I told you that the weathered material which are transported by the different agents like river, glaciers, air and others, and these transported materials are decomposed due to bacteria and moss, and after that the dead remains increases the humus of the soil, and the minor grasses and ferns can grow, bushes, tree also grow, plants, roots and burrowing animals help the soil formation. So students, what we can say here, the soil formation is a process which is occurring due to some weathering condition, and as a result the sedimentation is known as the soil formation. Students, here are few physical attributes of the soil which are known as the texture, structure, color and capacity to hold water, as you can see in this picture. Students, here are few factors which are affecting to the soil formation, and these factors are known as the parent material, as the parent rocks, and the topography means the structure of our earth layer. Then climate, the climatic conditions are also a factor which are affecting to the soil formation, due to which we are not getting the same soil in every places. Next is the biological activity that we will discuss, and then after that the time. As we know that to form a soil layer, that it is taking so much time to form a 5 millimeter layer. It is more than 100 to 1000 years are required in the soil formation. So let's see what are these factors which are affecting to the soil formation. So students, let's see what are these factors which are affecting to the soil formation. So first of all, we will talk about the parent material. Students, the parent material is derived from the rocks. The chemical and mechanical weathered the rock and produce the parent material. It is incorporated by biological remains. As the rock are comprised of various minerals, the minerals contains are present in the parent rock. Next factor is student climate. So what is climate factor? How it is affecting to the soil formation? Let's see. The climate plays an important role in the soil formation. It acts directly or indirectly. Weathering is the direct action of climate in soil formation. It depends upon the rainwater and the temperature. The biological action is the indirect action of climate in soil formation. Students, beside a long period action of climate, reduce the differences caused by parents material. Okay, so hence the same parent material may produce two types of soil in two climatic regions, and two different parent material may produce a single type of soil in a particular climatic region. So for example, we can say the sandy soil of the deserts are derived from sandstone and granite rocks as well. These soils are formed under the hot desert climatic condition. On the other hand, crystalline granite rock produce laterite in the moist climatic condition of Rajmahal Hills. Okay, so now let's see our third agent, that is biological activity. What is biological activity? Student, the biological organism also play an important role in the soil formation. Plants' life consists of trees, shrubs, grasses, bacteria and fungi. Dead plants provide humus to the soil, and humus maintain the fertility of the soil. So as we can see, the biological activity is also so much important. So let's see what is humus. Students, the decomposition of plants and microorganisms releases organic chemicals that interact with the loose material is called humus, and it is the dead organic matter in the soil. Now students, let's see what is topography which is affecting to the soil formation. Like parent materials, topography of a region is a passive control factor in the soil formation. Students, the topography determines the amount of exposure of a surface covered by the parent material to sunlight and the amount of surface and subsurface drainage over the and through the parent material. And see how the time is affecting to the soil formation. Time is the most important factor in the soil formation. The length of time the soil forming process operates determines maturation of soil and profile development. When the soil forming process acts for a sufficiently long time, developing a distinctive soil profile. So students, here we can see these 5 factors are so much important to soil formation. So students, hope you understood how these 5 factors are working on the soil formation. In our next video, we will study about the different landforms and how they evaluate. So for that, keep watching SST Zone.